So far, we managed to extract all the parts from the request that we care about. We also did a check for the correct version of HTTP. And what we have to do now is actually convert this method, that is a string slice, into the method enum that our request expects. For conversions like that, we have already used the from trait and the try from trait. Let's think about the concrete case here. We would have some method, which would be an arbitrary string in our request, and we would try to convert it into one of these methods that we have predefined in our method enum. And obviously there is the option that the method that is passed in the request is invalid. If it's something that's not here, then our conversion might fail. For cases like this, we know that we have to use try from, because the signature of try from is one that returns a result, which means that the conversion might fail. But because converting a string slice into another type is so common, there is a special trait for it. If we come to the method, up here at the top, we can import from the str module a special trait called from str. And this trait, we need to use. And the definition of this trait is that it is used to parse a value from a string. And we can see that we have to define one method called from str, which returns a result, which is what we need for our concrete case here. And we also have to define one type, which would be the error that this result might return. So let's actually copy all that and try to define our own. We have to close this and this, and we have to make this for our method, and let's make this a string for now and we'll figure it out. Okay, let's add unimplemented so the compiler does not complain. All right, so this would be a function that will receive the string that will contain the method from the request, and we have to convert it in this enum here. To do that, we can actually match on the string itself, because remember that we generally use match on enums, but we can also use it on any other type. So here we can actually match on the string, and if we just exhaust all the possibilities from our enum, so we want to put all of that here, and let's record another macro that would help us do this faster. Okay, so we would want to copy the word, put a quote before it, put a quote after it, because we're matching on a string, and then follow that with, if we actually manage to match on it, we want to return an OK, and this OK will wrap the self dot and whatever we copied before. Now come back. Okay, let's see if the macro actually worked. All right, perfect. Now what's left to do is actually add the default case, which would be an underscore pattern, and if it was the default case, we want to return an error, which at this time would be some string. Okay, and we can delete the unimplemented. So this is pretty much how we would convert the string into our pattern. One thing that we have to fix here is that currently our error is a string, but it would be nice to create a custom error type so that in our request, we would be able to convert this error into a parse error. So let's actually define a new struct, which would be a method error there, and we would want to actually swap our string with the method error. Okay, now we have to actually come down here and change this to return a method error. And now the compiler is complaining because the method error is, because the method error is private, but we are putting it in a public interface. That means that this function is public and can be called from outside of this module, but one of the types that it returns is not public, so we have to make our error public. Okay, now what we can do here is we can actually say that we want to overwrite our method, and this would be method.parse. We have already used the parse function in our Mars calculator. It is used to convert types from a string into something else. In the case of the Mars calculator, we were converting from a string into a floating point number. In here, we actually want to convert into the method enum. And when we implement the from_str trait, we get the parse function for free. But now it will actually complain because the compiler does not know what type we are trying to convert into. So we actually have to type our variable, and now it will complain because parse actually returns a result, but we're expecting a method. So what we want to do is we just want to put a question mark here and call it a day, but we can't put a question mark because our function is supposed to return a parse error, but the parse function will actually give us a method error. Thankfully, we know how to fix that now. We just have to implement the from trait for our parse error, but this time we want to convert from method error. So if we type method error here, also change it. Oops. There, and we want to convert a method error into an invalid method. Now we have to come on here on top and import the method error. So now the question mark is happy because when it sees the method error that the parse function returns, it can automatically convert it into a parse error thanks to the implementation of the from trait that we wrote here.